friends, it's about that time. So let's adjust. Let's get to it. Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing? I am doing well. I am, at this moment, very caffeinated, and so that's always a good sign. You know, before we jump into it, there is something that I did want to talk about regarding hope. Hi, Lexi. How are you? I want to talk about hope and why I personally believe hope can be quite destructive. And I've talked about this before in videos. The main motivator in terms of breakups and reconciliation, etc., is often hope, right? When you first get broken up with, hoping that they come back. And fine, normal enough. Anybody could say, yeah, well, you know, I hope they broke up with me. I didn't want that to happen, so I hope they come back. I hope they reconsider. And so sometimes people will ask, you know, well, why do you not like hope? What's the purpose of that? Isn't hope a good thing? Don't we hope for a better future? We hope that our kids are healthy. We hope all of these things. Yeah. But the reason is that hope places importance on an uncontrollable element, right? If I hope this person comes back, well, then I'm going to place a lot of my future on the idea that this person comes back, right? My habits, my behaviors, my, day-to-day actions are impacted based on hope. Now, let's say I got a really good job offer, and I went through a breakup a month prior, and I'm still hoping that X comes back, and that job offer takes me across the country. What might I do? Would I accept the job offer that might be really good for myself, for my future, for my ability to pay for things that I enjoy and improve my life and self-actualize on the possibility that someone I dated who has dumped me might come back? That's not particularly healthy. Now, on the other hand, without hope, there's doom, right? That's sort of the other side of the spectrum, which is, that's it, it's done, it's over, no matter what I do, there's no chance, there's no shot. And doom is not the right answer either, because if you have doom, you could very likely doom yourself to depression. So that's not the right way to go either. There is a difference between having no hope and adopting doom, right? Or perhaps more of like a victim sort of mindset, a victim mentality. I think that a breakup, and any grief, not just a breakup, any grief can be a moment of self-actualizing if we let it. Now, I'm speaking after the first week. There's a period of sadness. There has to be. It's a sad thing. A bad thing happened. We feel bad. That makes perfect sense. But I don't know that a negative event needs to define everything. And people will usually agree, but the problem is they're going through the real life, real world emotion, the fallout from this thing. So what do you do about that? Well, yeah, for a while you just have to sit and feel bad, right? There's nothing really to be done there. Or the realization that maybe a partner's not returning to their life, losing a loved one. At the same time, think about how much good a breakup can do. Think about how it can transform your life, push you to do new things, get you back into the gym, maybe get you working with a counselor, having you embark upon, I know Lexi, for example, you began taking that improv class again. It can push you, it can serve as a kick in our complacency. And I guess that's really what I'm saying. So I don't like focusing on hope because we can't control the outcome. You can have all the hope in the world and they could never come back. You could have no hope at all and they could come back. That is just the way this thing goes. So I'd rather not feel like doing a thing and do it anyway, right? Remove hope from the equation completely. Not have good hope, not have bad doom, sort of the opposite of hope. I'd rather just not even focus on the tool. We need to use different tools. And the tool right now is self-accountability, self-reliance, and leaning on the support network that keeps you stable. Your friends, your career, things you enjoy, maybe going outside for a nice long walk, right? Nature. I think that there's a lot of good to be had if we're allowing ourselves to just experience the emotions of the situation because they're appropriate to the situation. And sure, they're not nice feeling. We want to feel good as quick as possible, feel as few bad things as possible across the course of life. But those negative emotions that we feel really do serve, they give us something, don't they? For example, a breakup is one of the most great revealers of the things of ourselves we don't like. When you get broken up with, you can think about that you might weigh 5 pounds too much, or that perhaps you don't have any actual interests, or whatever negative self-limiting beliefs you have about yourself, whether they're true or not, it's irrelevant. They highlight things about you that you don't like. A breakup is a great revealer of the things you don't like about yourself. And it stands to reason that, hey, at this moment, we can't make that person come back to you, right? And maybe they're not even good for you, but let's not even have that part of the conversation yet. All we know is that they're not good for you. I'm sorry, that you can't have them back even if you want to. At this moment. So, we have all this negative feelings. We are clearer than ever in terms of what we don't like about ourselves. And we have some time to kill. And you want to come out of this thing in one piece. So, a big part of it should be, hey, well, let me get my shit together, Now, sure, you might not have the motivation, but I don't know that anybody's asking you to have motivation during a miserable time. I think it's just about doing it because it's one of those things that's going to keep you sane. Actually, I met someone in class. We're going on a date Friday, and I haven't felt this excited for a while. I went on a date Monday and didn't have the same feeling prior. Excited for a date, are we? Life moves on. Chapter 2. I am a fan of this. How did you meet this person? Oh, you met them in class. Right. And this was that improv class, wasn't it? So you mean you pried yourself up out of bed, challenged yourself to do something new, or at least something you hadn't done in a while, and COVID and all that, of course. And you met someone, and then life took a turn that you were not expecting. If that is not poetic, I don't know what is. And you have to look at it like that. You have to look at it like, we're not necessarily saying you need to feel super duper amazing. Not you specifically, Lexi. But we're not saying you have to feel super duper amazing. But what we're asking is you do have to take personal accountability. This is no different than, think about gaining weight, right? You guys know my whole weight gaining and weight losing story. Eating good food evokes a good response, right? So I was going through a very depressed time in my life, and I needed a lot of food so I can get basically an escape. And then eventually one day I looked at the result of continually choosing the easy thing, and look what happened. I was miserable, I was unattractive, I certainly didn't like myself, and then one day I figured, all right, there's got to be a way out of this thing. So I took some personal accountability, and then things got better. Did I want to do it? Of course not. Do I want to work out? No, almost never. I do it because it's good for me. And I found a way that worked for me, and my way was getting a trainer. Being accountable to a person, not to myself, not to an app, to a person. And that helped me get with it. And breakups are no different. Being accountable to yourself. It helped put things in perspective. Last week I was still obsessing over my ex, but the way this guy talks to me is helping me to realize just how poorly I was being treated. That is the gumbo of life, my dear. Very good for you. That's all it comes down to. Just wanting better for yourself. At what point? It's so funny because we'll bend over backwards for the other person. We really do. And, not that we're always perfect partners, not at all. I fail myself, all the time. But you try, you try your best. And you fail sometimes and you learn from those failures, no matter what the consequence of that failure might be. But you learn. And you do a little better next time. It's just funny, though. We always worry about failing the other person. We never stop and consider, am I failing myself, And relationships can become really addicting. And I think it's so important that when we're in a relationship, particularly a relationship with someone we really like, that we don't lose those little things that keep us stable, the pillars, as I call them on the YouTube channel. The job, the exercising, the mental health counseling, hobbies, hanging out with friends, and maintaining other relationships that are not romantic. These are the things that make us attractive in the first place. Not just so that someone else can be attracted to us, but also so that we can be attracted to ourselves, or perhaps more aptly, proud of ourselves. Like, I'm someone I'm pretty cool with. I like me. And how often can we say that across the course of our life until some trauma like this hits? And it's always interesting to me, you know? We do our best for ourselves. We get better. We feel better. Life gets better. Isn't that something? For most people that I talk to after they go through a breakup, during the time they're going through a breakup, they are miserable. This is the worst thing you could have ever done to me, right? You have taken the only thing that made me happy. And yet, after the fact, right? Like when they've started working on themselves, it's been maybe a couple months, maybe even like 2 or 3 months. And you talk to them again and you ask them pretty much the same questions. And I'm lucky to have repeat coachings from time to time where I can actually do this and say, so how do you feel now? Right? And I'll usually save a log of the questions that I asked and ask them the same questions again, and then tell them the difference in their answers. You know, do you want them back? Their answer turns from, yes, of course. Why do you think I'm talking to you? It turns into, I don't know. I'm not sure. Isn't that funny? Something we wanted so desperately. You give it a little bit of personal work, you give it a little bit of time, because we have to remember that grief is a process of time as much as it is a process of betterment. And then you ask the person the question again. The thing that made you feel this horrible, do you want that back? At first it's yes. And then it turns into, I don't know. And it's genuinely a thoughtful answer. I don't know. I remember how badly I wanted them back. I have all these journal entries and sleepless nights and crying to my best friend and blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, I don't know now. Ain't that something? Something that could make me feel that good and that bad. And now I don't know. It did take me almost a full year, though. There were a lot of moments where I did feel the doom, but going out and meeting new people was the real change. Lockdown held me back quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to pass on some sagely wisdom, but I think there's no accounting for a worldwide pandemic. That one's pretty much, I guess what I would say is that has been inflicted upon every human on Earth. You know, in a way, the pandemic was sort of an equalizer in some ways, right? Not in all ways. Obviously, if you live in a third world country, it's probably going to be a lot more horrible. If you live in a country that doesn't believe in vaccinations and things like that, yeah, it's not going to be good. But in terms of isolation, I think that this was quite a big equalizer. So, I don't know. It just makes you wonder if, and I truly believe this down to my very core, if I did not go through the breakups that I went through, I would not be who I am today. They were life-changing experiences, and they are inherently, I shouldn't say inherently, I should say initially, quite negative. At least that's how they feel. I don't know a person that gets broken up with and they're like, cool, let's go get lunch. But you'll find that most people who go through breakups and decide that they want to learn something from the experience, even if it's a hard lesson, even if it's a hard pill to swallow, like you can commit no mistake and still lose. We talk about that one a lot. If they decide to make it mean something, it's life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing. And so I guess I would just ask people to, consider, and perhaps this would be good homework for those of you who are going to listen later and aren't here live at this moment. It would just, maybe write down how you feel today, especially if this is a newer thing. Write down how you feel today. And then give it a month, maybe 2 months. I'm not even necessarily say journal, right? Journal is consistent, and I definitely believe that we should journal. It's very good for us, even when you don't want to do it, which is kind of the whole point of this. But this is more like a mood checkup. And what I want you to do is write down how you feel today. Good, bad, sad, happy, whatever. Ideally, we want to keep it about the relationship and the breakup. And then write down how you feel a month from today. a year from today, and just see where you're at. And the thoughts and feelings and beliefs, etc., that you held today, and maybe this is less relevant for those of you who have been going through a breakup for a while. So, for Lexi, if you've been going through a breakup for a year, you're probably pretty ready. But for many people who are listening, this is a newer thing. And I think it's important for us to be able to look at this and go, what can I really learn from this? How can I be better because of this? How can I be more relevant and happier? And if you don't feel comfortable using the word happy, fine. How can I self-actualize and get all my core needs and then my, maybe some more frivolous needs or wants met? Because it's so doable. That's the part that drives me nuts. It's so doable. This whole thing is doable. So, that's my thoughts. Now, I am seeing that we have a scant 3 people here. So if any of you have a question, a comment, or a thought, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and I will answer right now. But if not, we will call this an early live stream. I hope so. Finding out about his girlfriend 2 months ago felt like day 1 of the breakup. That'll do it. That would do it. I think one of the best and most notable moments of my life, and romantically speaking, I don't know why I sounded like that. Romantically speaking, was the day I realized, and this is years ago now, was the day I realized I went an entire day without thinking of my ex-partner. An entire day. That was a big deal for me back then, because I was not used to not having her around. I was not used to not thinking of her. She was a fact of life for 10 years. Losing that's a big deal. Yeah. And then one day, at the end of a very long day, I realized I haven't thought of her a single time today. Holy shit. So, I think that was a moment of triumph where I realized I am not the sum of my experiences. Speaking of the negative ones, I am not the sum of my negative experiences. I'm the sum of my experiences total. And so I think one of the best and healthiest things that I can do for myself is to grow and become happier and healthier, and a reminder to stay humble, because sometimes experiences are going to happen that my previous experiences did not prepare me for. And in those moments, it is incredibly important to lean on and trust in the pillars that have been built. And those pillars are my friends, my family, my body, my mental health, my hobbies, even if you don't want to do them, because you're not always going to want to, right? You're not always going to want to. That's okay. That is okay. The best thing you can do is trust in those things that kept you happy, kept you functioning, and yes, you've lost one of those pillars, but that does not mean the other ones suddenly become weak. So I think that's really important. Just that we allow ourselves to understand the process is not linear. You're not always going to feel amazing. You're not always going to feel horrible. In fact, on Monday you can feel great, and Tuesday you can be miserable. That's okay. That's grief. That's what it does. And you're normal for feeling that way. So leave yourself alone. You are doing fine. Even if it doesn't feel like it. Just remember, and this too shall pass, but when I was in the thick of it, that phrase pissed me off so much. Like, oh yeah, this too will fucking pass. Yeah, sure. Kiss my ass. But it will. It'll get better. You'll get better. All of this will be better. but you got to give it some time. And since we're here, you might as well get to work on some positive change for yourself. And you'll never regret it. So, I think that's all I had to say today. And I'm noticing there's not really questions, so I'm going to let this be an episode in lieu of the live stream. So I hope this made sense to all of you. I'll leave the stream up for about 2 more minutes in the event that anybody has a question or a comment that they would like to share. In the meantime, enjoy some lo-fi. Oh, good news though. You guys get to find this out before anybody else. We are doing the next chapter of Until Next Time voiceover on YouTube. That will be happening this week. Very possibly Friday. Friday. And what's more is I may be... Yeah. Ideally, we're going to release the whole thing. Yeah. We do have... There's a pretty heavy auto mod because there's so many spammers in my channels. So do me a favor, Lexi, and if your question contains numbers, like the number, like 2, the numeral, type it out instead. So instead of typing 2, type TWO. You get it. But we will be finishing up the audiobook, and you guys get free copies. Well, the tier 3 patrons up get free copies of the full finished audiobook. Tier 2 patrons, you guys will get the episodes. So kind of like the one I did on YouTube. Savory Temptress, you follow me everywhere I go. Hey, you two know each other. Look at that. I'll wait till you guys see what I did with my camera. Ooh, it looks fancy. So for the patrons, you guys will get the YouTube video. You guys will get the rough draft version of the audiobook. And then when it's fully finished, you will also get for free the professional draft. The tier 3 patrons will get the professional draft. All patrons will get the rough draft. It's pretty much the same thing. One's done on YouTube like this. The other one is done in a professional studio. That's really the only difference. If you bought the audiobook, I think you automatically get audio. That's not up to me. That's up to Audible. Whatever they decide. And speaking of, I think that's going to be my next project. Lexi, do me a favor. Just send it to me on Discord. I'll answer it on Discord. I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'll answer it there. Wonderful. All right. I'm going to end the stream here then. And if anybody does have a question that for some reason they could not get it to post or they couldn't think of it during the live stream, just send it to me on Discord, or you can post it in the Patreon. Oh, here we go. Tegman, how are you? Broken up last November, neglected her big time and took her for granted. Guess I deserved it. Anyway, we kept contact and hooked up till March while she had a rebound at the same time. I know I shouldn't have anyway. That gave me a lot of anxiety. Yeah, I think just back away from that situation. Just get yourself out of it in the event. Oh, you said until March, so I guess that was the end of that. So I had no contact for 4 months, worked on myself, and have been consulting. Didn't help much. I contacted her last week. Oh. I see there's an entire story arc here. She was polite and cold. I feel somehow less anxious, but still want her. I think I scrapped any chances to reattract her. If I go no contact, I think I will go insane. Any cue then could help. Well, remember, you're using, at least from what I'm reading, you're using no contact as a means to reattract somebody, right? No contact, and I've said this in virtually every video I've made, is for you. It's not to reattract them. And this is why, because when we focus on no contact as a tactic, yeah, we'll keep ourselves connected to that hope I was speaking about earlier in the live stream, where I need to do A so that person will do B, and then we can come back together. You know, right? I do this, they do that. We need to think of it less as an action on them and more as an inaction. Went no contact to feel better, but it didn't help much. So with that comes a whole host of questions and things for you to consider. For example, have you been talking to mutual friends and family about her? Have you been checking her social media in any way, shape, or form, or posting social media for her to see? And I mean, no matter how irrelevant and small you think it might be, if it's connected to her, you should not be engaging in. Have you been working with a counselor? Have you been journaling, exercising regularly? I mean, literally doing every single thing I suggest, including counseling. And how many of these videos are you watching a day? And then part of it's just time, man. You know, if you guys dated for a long time, then yeah, it's gonna mess with you a bit. And if there is too much strategizing and planning on how to get them back, reading, you know, posts on Reddit and Quora on stories where it worked out and people got back together, and not enough focusing on yourself and your life and going out, trying new things, meeting new people. Basically, if you stay stuck, don't be surprised when you are stuck. It's a decision, right? It's a decision to make. And there is no easy way around that decision. It has to be that if you want to feel better, you have to decide to feel better. And part of that is genuinely trying to feel better. But a lot of people will say, well, I'm doing everything. I'm not saying this is you. I'm just saying sometimes people that I speak with say, well, I'm doing everything I can think of, Rory. And then I'll begin asking them, answer honestly, you know, are you going to the gym? Well, I could go a little more, but I'm going. Okay. Are you doing yoga? No, not at all. Okay. Are you going for a walk every night? No. Okay. Are you journaling? I mean, sometimes. All right. Are you going to a counselor? No. It's like, then why the hell should you feel better? You know what I mean? This is one of those things. It demands your time. It demands your time. And they're also engaging in a lot of, like I said earlier, the social media stalking, the checking Reddit and Quora for like stories about no contact success, and watching too many of these videos, not just from mine, but the Dating Guy, Craig Kenneth, Corey Wayne, Dan Bacon, all the crappy coaches as well. Yeah. So make sure your house is in order, because you will not feel better until your house is in order. And if you need a refresher, I would check out video number 136. That's video 136. The title is How to Heal. And if you follow everything in that video to the letter, right, you will feel better. Like money back guarantee, you will feel better, but you have to give it time. A lot of people will go into no contact, and I'm air quoting no contact. Meanwhile, they'll have contact with everything about the person, right? Everything except reaching out to them directly. They'll be checking their social media, asking mutual friends, has she been asking about me, talking to family members, I mean, the whole nine. And then they're like, why don't I feel any better? It's because you're not trying to feel better. You're trying to win her back. You're not trying to feel better. Again, not you specifically, just in general. So just make sure that, make sure your no contact is what I was trying to say. Make sure your no contact game is tight. And if it is, give yourself a month or two, and I guarantee you'll feel better. But you have to make sure that it is followed exactly as I've outlined it. There is no room to check social media, no room to do any of that, because you will not feel better if you do that. I guess it doesn't make me feel like a priority. Is that bad? Temptress, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I guess it doesn't make me feel like a priority. What specifically? Did you post something that maybe didn't show up? Tegman says, I run and ride bikes, consult the journal. I just want to forget about her, but the motivation to work on myself is just not there. Yeah, man, that's because you're relying on motivation. Motivation is not the vehicle we need. It's action. See, people sit around and they wait for motivation to come as though it's some like commodity. Action inspires motivation, not the other way around. Man, I never want to get up and go exercise. Never. I never want to. But I'm always glad I did. And I always feel better about myself. Temptress, it's showing up for you, but it's not showing up for us. You probably got banned. The comment probably got removed. But if you see a comment, I don't. My question was right before the one you read. Nope. Nothing. Repost it, but make sure to, if there's any numerals, like 2 or 3 or 4, type them out. Don't use the numeral. Use the word. Because the auto mod's very, very heavy on those. Because there used to be people who would come into the YouTube channel and, which Dr. Obaba can help you win your X back? Just WhatsApp him at this number. So I had to remove all the numbers because the comments were like, I'd wake up and there'd be 20 new ones every day. It got out of hand. Is that why so many people think I'm ignoring them on YouTube? Don't blame me. Blame Dr. Obaba. Prince Abubu. But there were like legitimately like 20, 30 of those a day. And it got to be too much. In fact, I talked to Dating Guy about it, and I was like, is your channel like this too? And he said, yep. Witch Dr. Hobaba. That'll be my next video game character. I'll play Diablo. I'll play a Witch Doctor. And if your question doesn't pop up there, do me a favor and just post it in the Discord. Post it to me directly, and I will get to it there. Okay. Or even better, do me a favor, guys. This will work a lot better. I'm gonna end the stream here. If you have questions that I didn't get to, yeah, or you can wait, or you can put it on Twitch. That's fine too. But if you care to, I'm gonna end the stream here. I'm gonna post it to Patreon, and if you want, you can just leave it as a question on Patreon. But make sure you guys pay to be here, so I want to make sure I get to your questions. Obviously, if you post it on Twitch, there's many less people. I will see it on Twitch. But in the event that doesn't happen, make sure to post it on Patreon because I will absolutely see it on Patreon. So, guys, it's been great. I'm glad that we could talk. We talk shop, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Later, kids.